Here's the page that I have at Santa Clara Valley Water District, and it's our first web portal page. And a couple things I'll quickly point out to you. We have a program much like Harris County. We call it Access Valley Water. If any citizen has a concern, question, issue, complaint, request for maintenance, you can click on Access Valley Water. It leads you to a page. You can be anonymous, or you can have your web address or your email address and so forth, but it puts it into our system, that issue. So it almost date and time stamps it. So we have a concern about being responsive to the community. We want to resolve or make sure we get back to a community member within 5 working days. And so that allows us to really reach out and tag that call, so to speak. And then it also, the way our system works is that tags it such a way that we have various staff that are in certain geographic areas, so that they automatically get an email embedded in the system to be pinged, if you will, to know that there's a complaint out there. Make sure you're looking to the Access Valley Water. It's also a way for them to then, when they respond to the complaint, they keep a record of it. So maybe a couple of years from now, we have new staff there. They can pull out the history and immediately understand, well, we heard from this person 2 years ago. Here's what the complaint was. Here's how we resolved it. So again, a useful way to reach out and really touch the community and build that credibility. And as Doug mentioned earlier, the issue of anger and resentment, which occurs oftentimes where people flood. And when you try to apply logic and reasoning to a person in a community that is angry and resentful, it just is not practical. Those people you've got to, as Doug pointed out, you've really got to listen and hear. We've learned that many times throughout our members' areas where there is flooding. They look to that local community, that regional responsible agency, and of course they're very unhappy. And so how do you build a bridge, particularly when it takes many, many years to actually solve their problem? You can solve the immediate problem. They have the damages from flooding, but the long-term solution is oftentimes a long way off, and of course that does not satisfy anybody when they see that. One other point about Santa Clara is that as we've looked towards solving our community problems, we look at our stream systems, and it was touched upon earlier, trying to find natural solutions to them. We've relied on what we call historic ecology, where we've looked back at historical maps, photographs, to kind of see what was the condition of that stream over time. So when we're charged with flood protection, we don't want to create a situation which is not consistent with the past actions of that stream in terms of the riparian wildlife and the habitat that existed there through trees and whatnot. So we don't try to create what we consider to be today's natural environment that creates a condition that probably is not sustainable over the long term. So it's been very helpful to us. And then our area serves Silicon Valley. And recently we were talking with the leadership group of Silicon Valley, and they were telling us about what are some of the priorities for their CEOs. And certainly water and flood protection are not high on their list. And so when we reach out to the communities, obviously when you flood, it draws it to your attention, but when the flooding recedes and people don't remember, it's hard to engage opinion leaders in an effective way to really have them understand and reach out that these solutions cost a lot, they take a lot of time, there's environmental issues, and it needs their support over the long term. Not only as the local agencies looking at web pages, certainly we've heard from the Corps, but here's EPA's web page looking at flood risk management, certainly another federal partner that we're engaged in. And as was alluded to, not all levees are alike, certainly not all owners are alike. Certainly, as we've already touched upon this morning, the federal ownership and responsibilities, where certainly many of our members are the Corps partnered flood risk reduction projects. We certainly shoulder that responsibility of continuing to operate and maintain those facilities. Many are locally constructed with locally financed projects, certainly in tough economic times and financial times. It leads to a challenge to raise the local fund, not only just for the construction, but the ongoing maintenance. And certainly the cost of mitigation and the time it takes to get the regulatory permits to do the work on a repeated basis can be very daunting. And then also private levies, and sometimes in the nomenclature of this, private levies are non-federal, but really we're not a private agency, but nonetheless there is, in many cases, private levee ownerships. Our particular agency owns about 100 miles of levee. In California, there's other serious levee issues that are those that are owned by the state. Some of the current challenges we face, some of them are talked about certainly at the conference, issues of we all have a role in the responsibility to communicate and outreach. Certainly the credibility of the local agency is pivotal to gaining the confidence in the local community. They're looking at governmental agencies and pension costs and other factors that really damage our credibility. But nonetheless, they need to have confidence in the abilities and our ability to execute effectively and efficiently, and that stretches all the way up through the governmental structure. Need to think long-term with term limits and other issues facing politicians. They want to think near-term, and many of these solutions are long-term. It's very much an ongoing struggle. Carrots, not sticks. How do you encourage without penalizing? It's an ongoing dilemma in the regulatory climate that we face in managing flood management systems. And certainly the recognition that local sponsors are partners with federal projects, very critical. And as we've alluded to already, the ongoing emerging issues and contentious at times, the issues of levee vegetation. People value, and particularly in California, value the natural environmental system. Don't think much about the fact that there could be adverse impacts with the vegetation if unchecked. Seismic issues in California are a huge issue, not only on levees but dams. We have 2 dams that are under operating restrictions as I speak due to the concern about seismic vulnerability of those facilities, and of course there's many millions of dollars ahead to remediate and repair those to put them fully functional. Is more progress needed? Obviously there is. That's why we come to conferences like these and network and learn and then apply those learnings back in our home agencies. Certainly many things on our table. Science-based decisions, very important to us, but extremely challenging because so oftentimes we don't have that science data that really helps support our understanding of the natural systems, and it takes funding to monitor and then to interpret that monitoring data. Data sharing, as already alluded to, on inventory database, very important to us. With the tools of high-speed internet and other databases, great way to restore and provide that information. And then making sure that the public is aware of roles and responsibilities as we move forward. And then finally, we can attend conferences like these, but in fact, NASMA also has annual meetings with our members. Our next meeting is taking place the week of Halloween, this coming fall. It takes place at the Don Cesar in St. Petersburg along the coast there, so we'll be very close to the waters there and hopefully out of hurricane season. So if any of you are interested, you can check our website. Appreciate the opportunity to talk, and we can take any questions. Thanks.